Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha, Girivardhari, Gopi Jana Vallabha, Girivardhari, Gopi Jana Vallabha, Girivardhari, Gopi Jana Vallabha, Girivardhari, Yashodanandana Yamuna Tira Imam Swanigamam Brahman Bhavityamadanishkitam Adhan me jnanam aishvaryam Swasmin bhavam chakeshava.
เ
Anybody else have it? You're the only one, right?
Share it.
Well, that's okay. We won't use it. Nobody else has it. I'll just read the word for word by Srila Prabhupada. Imam thus Swanigamam confidential knowledge of the Vedas and respect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahman, O Brahman, Vyasadeva, Avidya, knowing it well, by me, Anushtitam, executed, Adat, bestowed upon me, me, Jnana, transcendental knowledge, Aishparyam, opulence, Swasmin, personal, Bhavam, intimate affection and love, Cha, and Keshava, Lord Krishna. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. O Brahmana, thus by the Supreme Lord Krishna I was endowed first with transcendental knowledge of the Lord as inculcated in confidential parts of the Vedas, then with spiritual opulences, and then with his intimate loving service. So everyone please repeat. O Brahman, thus by the Supreme Lord Krishna, I was endowed first with the transcendental knowledge of the Lord, as inculcated in confidential parts of the Vedas, then with the spiritual opulences, and then with his intimate loving service. Purport. Communion with the Lord by transmission of the transcendental sound is non-different from the whole spirit of Lord Shri Krishna. Om Madhyantamrandasya Vinanjana Shavakaya Chakshurum Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Namaha Vichetan Manobishtam Tapitam Yena Bhuttare Swayam Rupakadathmatam Isvapanantikam Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhuttare Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Vishatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Anshakampatarubhyascha, Kripasindu Devacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. So I just stopped here at this first line of the purport is maybe a little difficult to understand. Communion with the Lord by transmission of the transcendental sound is not different from the whole Spirit, Lord Shri Krishna. So what that basically what Srila Prabhupada is saying there, Abhinapram Nama Namina. There's no difference. No difference between the Supreme Lord and His holy name. No need for that. Yeah. Forgot to bring my name. So, this is such an important thing. Especially when we chant the holy name of Krishna in the morning. japa. Hopefully everybody does that. That's theoretically speaking, no? Fortunately, our movement is expanding by increasing congregation. More people are in the congregation. Generally speaking, I see congregation in general means you don't get up at 3 in the morning. You know, you get up maybe 5, 6, something like that. And then most people have to work. So I see many people driving to work chanting japa. On the train in New York, I know many do it, in the subway, chanting japa, it's just not a real conducive atmosphere. So what happens is that we see japa as something I have to do rather than, as Srila Prabhupada says here, communion with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I am directly associating with Krishna. And there's no difference between this association and being with Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. No difference. The only difference is my lack of consciousness. That's the only difference. Otherwise, when you chant the holy name of Krishna, just like Srila Prabhupada said, and what Narada Muni said, what Lord Vishnu says to Narada Muni, wherever there is chanting of my holy name, that's where I am. I'm not in Vaikuntha. I am there, but really where I am mostly, and where I mostly want to be, is when my devotees are chanting my glory. That's where I am. I'm present, meaning I am present in their hearts. I manifest myself, just as this verse says. The verse itself is actually talking about the 3 aspects which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu emphasized and all of our acharyas emphasized: Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. Sambandha in this verse is Swanigamam. Swanigamam, Nigama, means penetrating within. Swa, going within myself. This is what spiritual life means. You go within yourself. Not that spiritual life means that sometimes we have a tendency to live our spiritual life according to the external circumstance. So in the beginning, we're enthused because we've come to Krishna out of one of 4 motives. I'm suffering, I'm in need of something, I want to know something about the truth, or I want to understand the absolute truth. But none of those 4 is perfect. The 4th one is considered to be almost perfect, and therefore Krishna elaborates on it in Bhagavad Gita. So, but we have to go beyond these things, because if we judge things in the beginning, I may be very enthusiastic because I'm feeling some relief from material misery, I'm getting some knowledge that I never had before, or I think through Krishna consciousness I can get, according to what I've heard, what I really need, which is spiritual life. But then living drenched with the modes of nature, we're drenched, not just we have a little bit, it's bombarded upon us, especially the mode of ignorance and the mode of passion. Drinking, smoking, condemning others. This is all in the mode of ignorance. Mode of passion, working hard, wanting my family to prosper, wanting to make money. Even sometimes in devotional service. As Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, that sometimes in the course of devotional service, we think that because I've gotten some prosperity, then it must be coming from Krishna. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, this is the biggest mistake you can make. Krishna doesn't give you material opulence. No. Krishna may give you opulence in his service if you show that you can actually use it properly. But because we are immersed in the material energy, then we think that because people the general understanding of religiosity is that, as Srila Prabhupada explains, it says, karma, artha, dharma, and moksha. And in that order, I want karma, I want to enjoy my senses, and therefore artha, I have to make money. But because, I'm a little bit religious, then I try to do it within some context of morality, or ethics. And then moksha, but I want to be free. But what do most people want to be free from? Suffering. Therefore, in Krishna consciousness, we should be very careful that our motivation to serve Krishna is not to be free from suffering. When we're a little more advanced. In the beginning, yeah, we want to be free from suffering. We're suffering so much. But Queen Kunti teaches us the higher understanding, as does Lord Brahma, Tattenu Kampam Susamikshamana. I accept Krishna's mercy in any way. And especially Krishna, when Krishna sees that either we want to be serious in our devotional service, or we're saying that I want to advance spiritually, then Krishna says, all right, this is what it means. You have to give up material sense gratification. So therefore Krishna gives you some difficult circumstances where you're put into a decision. Do I want to give in to Maya, or do I want to accept Krishna's mercy? However it comes. In the beginning, it will come in ways that we may not want it. So then we begin to differentiate. I want this kind of mercy. When I go to the temple, yes, the deities are very nice, I love them. But I don't want Krishna's mercy as far as getting up and chanting 16 rounds before I do anything. That mercy, I would rather, modify that mercy. And chant a little bit in the morning, and then do the best I can throughout the day. Sometimes I see devotees walking around all day with their japa bag in their hand. But it's not, it's on standby. So we have to try to make our spiritual life very, very wonderful by chanting the holy name. So this is what it means, communion with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So especially in the Sambandha stage of Krishna consciousness, we need to follow the rules and regulations. Sambandha means you establish your relationship with Krishna. What does that mean? Krishna defines it at the end of Bhagavad Gita. Sarvadhamam parichaya mamekam saganam raja. It means you surrender. At least you surrender externally. But what does Abhideya mean? Abhideya means practicing Krishna consciousness with regulation, sincerely wanting to advance in devotional service by hearing and chanting. It means that hearing and chanting is more important than my external service. It doesn't mean I give up my external service, but hearing and chanting brings quality to my external service. Not that I'm doing external service and somebody rubs me wrong. I go, what's this devotee? This devotee is not very advanced. This Mataji is like this. That's false ego. Somebody tries to correct us. Yeah, I know. False ego, very difficult. So, Sambandha can bring us to the point where, yes, I understand I must serve Krishna. But still I have all these interferences of anger, lust, some greed, the wrong kind of greed. Actually, greed is the main ingredient for pure devotional service. But what kind of greed? Krishna Bhakta Rasi Bhavita Mati. When I want Krishna Bhakti Rasa, when I really want to taste the rasa of Krishna Bhakti, Kriyatam Yadukutopi Labhyate. I must be willing to pay the price. What is that price? Tattaloryam apimuryam ekaham. The price is that I have to have intense greed. I want I want Krishna's mercy so badly that I will do anything to get it. As Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in one song, I will steal and I will do anything for Krishna's service. Meaning I will steal it from, meaning it doesn't mean I will steal money to get Krishna. That's not what it means. It means I will steal Krishna's mercy. I will look for it anywhere. I will grab onto it. I will associate with the Vaishnavas who can give me Krishna Bhakti. Then, Janmakoti Sukritaya Nalabhyate. It will never be attained by even thousands and thousands of lifetimes of pious activity. It can never be attained. Srila Prabhupada said one time, if you live 100 lifetimes with the qualification of Lord Brahma, maybe you can get Krishna's mercy. How many of us are doing that? Am I living like Lord Brahma? No. Well, check it out, read about Lord Brahma, read his prayers. Am I on that level? And have I been doing it for 100 lifetimes? So, it's a little difficult. So the best thing to do is to take shelter of the holy name. So, Abhideya means that in that stage, Krishna will give us different types of experiences and put us in circumstances that force us to surrender. And then, that's why most people don't make it past mid-Abhideya. Then there's some interference. Or there's something from my past life. All of us had to take another body for some reason. If I was performing devotional service, it's because I came up against an obstacle, an attachment that I could not overcome. And therefore I had to take another birth. And it will come back. That same obstacle will come back. And you will have to either confront it and go beyond it, or it will make you take another birth. Or, if I didn't perform devotional service in the past life, I will get more difficulties because there's some karmic situation that is going to confront me, and I have to deal with it. And that's why association with the Vaishnavas is so important. When that happens, psychological disturbance, physical disturbance, everything's going wrong. Everything's going wrong for so many years. If our karma was pretty miserable in the past lifetime, then I will have things going wrong all the time. And that's where sometimes we see that. And devotees become disillusioned because they see this devotee over here, we joined at the same time. Everything's going nicely, everything's falling into place, and me, everything's going wrong all the time. So what can we conclude? Krishna's not fair. That everybody is against me. These are the wrong conclusions. We should conclude, certainly in my last lifetime, I have to pay for these things. And therefore my life is not going to be the same. Whenever you come onto the relative platform of Krishna consciousness, you will fail. You start comparing yourself to others. We should compare ourselves to Srila Prabhupada. How much do I have to go to be like Srila Prabhupada? Well, maybe Prabhupada's a little too high. How do I have to go to get to the point of being like so-and-so devotee who I see is always engaged in devotional service? Let me associate with that devotee. Let me understand what he's tasting. Because Krishna consciousness means taste. We will always be inclined to do what the main taste in my life is. That's why Krishna consciousness began. The first experience of rasa is maybe chanting the holy name, we get some little taste, but taking Krishna Prasad. That's why Prasad is so important. We were discussing yesterday, Agnidev Prabhu was saying, in the beginning of the movement we had Sunday feast. Nowadays we have Sunday meal. The same thing that everybody pretty much takes every day, chana and rice, and that's what you have for Sunday. So we have a Sunday meal. You know. Sunday feast means sweet rice, samosas. You know. It means something that if some devotee comes, they will feel alive. If some new person comes, they will say, wow, you know, I've never had this before. What is this? Just like when I came to Krishna consciousness, I was like only eating fruits and nuts. That's all. That's all I ate. And then when devotees brought in, I said, oh, no. I want to be a yogi, you know. I don't want all these things. Finally, I took some samosas and I ate about 20 of them. Actually, was immobilized for about 3 hours. The taste. Taste is everything. Rasa is everything in spiritual life. That's why the Mayavadis have to struggle so much. They have no rasa. They may have a little rasa for knowledge. You know. That knowledge is also gives us a taste. But if that knowledge leads to understand that I'm God, a complete erroneous conclusion, then that taste will not be satisfying. Therefore, patantyado nadvidayusmarangaraha, because they don't have shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they will fall down. So anyway, let me go on with the purport. Oh, and then prayojana means pure devotional service. So here, let me finish the purport and then I can go a little more into that subject matter. By such pure contact with the Lord, meaning we chant very nicely, very sincerely, trying to hear every name, without offense of material conceptions, numbering 10. What is that? The 10 offenses against the holy name of the Lord. The devotee can rise above the material plane to understand the inner meaning of the Vedic literatures. Inner meaning, swanigamam, the inner meaning, confidential mind. But that's still basically the Sambandha platform. Including the Lord's existence in the transcendental realm. Otherwise, we understand Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan, Narayan in Vaikuntha, Ramachandra in Ayodhya. There's Vaikuntha, then there's Ayodhya, then there's Mathura, then there's Dwarka, and then there's Vrindavan. This is the spiritual world. Spiritual world is divided like this. And so the Lord comes to demonstrate that. We see that. If we watch the rasa of Lord Narayan with his devotees, it's just service. If we see the rasa of the devotees with Lord Ramachandra, it's service and some friendship. If we see the rasa in Mathura, it's friendship and parental love and a little bit of conjugal rasa. A little bit. Then if we see Dwarka, more conjugal rasa. All the queens have a very intimate relationship with Krishna. But then when we get to Goloka Vrindavan, we see the full manifestation of conjugal love, which enters into the hearts of all the residents. Everyone is serving Krishna. Everyone has some little taste, some little understanding of this conjugal relationship, except for Jatila and Kutila. They can't get into that. The cowherd boys, they can't really understand, but they understand that Krishna wants to be with the gopis. They understand that. They just can't relish it, but they understand it. But in Ayodhya, in Mathura, in Dwarka, they can't understand it. Why does Krishna want to be in Vrindavan? The queens were thinking, what is it, Vrindavan? These simple girls. What does he want with them? We're so opulent. We serve Krishna so nicely. We serve him in a big palace. Why does he want to be out in a hut? In some village. So, the development of rasa, very important thing. Then, the Lord reveals his identity gradually to one who has unflinching faith, both in the spiritual master and the Lord. After this, the devotee is endowed with mystic opulences, which are 8 in number. So we may say, wait, what happened to me? Where's my Lagima, Mahima, where are all these things? I would like to have them, because then if anybody, bothers me, I can just zap them with my mystical energies. Or I can just go to another planet. Or I can expand myself. So I can take prasadam here and in Londonville and so many places. So why is Krishna not giving us these opulences? Some great Vaishnavacharyas had used mystic powers. Ramanujacharya, he would use mystic powers to cure people sometimes, because they needed that to develop the faith. Madhvacharya, he exhibited many mystical powers. And Lord Chaitanya, of course, he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Yogeshwar, Supreme Mystic. What to speak of Krishna. But why does it, so Prabhupada will explain that here in the purport. Above all, the devotee is accepted in the confidential entourage of the Lord and is entrusted with specific service of the Lord through the agency of the spiritual master. A pure devotee is more interested in serving the Lord than in showing an exhibition of mystic powers dormant in him. So if you're actually a pure devotee, meaning there are many different levels of pure devotee. The bottom level, which maybe sometimes we achieve, means I follow very strictly everything that Sri Guru and Gauranga have said. Everything. Then you're a pure devotee. As long as you're doing that, you're a pure devotee. But you can also not be a pure devotee. As soon as material desire comes into the mind, then you're not a pure devotee anymore, because you're not acting fully according to the instructions every minute of the day. But if you're actually a pure devotee by your own merit, meaning I've actually attained the platform of prema bhakti, that's what this is talking about. Swasyam bhavam chakeshava means I am fully purified internally. I am on the platform of Krishna prema. If you're there, those mystic powers are available. But a devotee will not use them. Because if I use them, just like right now, we think, if I had mystic powers, I would show everybody, how wonderful devotion is. I would mystify them by my powers. And then they would say, but they wouldn't do that. They would say, and then they would say, he's probably a magician, or he's worshiping the devil. They say all kinds of things. They wouldn't say, and some people would say, yes. Let me see how to acquire that mystic power. But that's what they would want. They would want the mystic power. They wouldn't want Krishna's lotus feet. Therefore, devotees, Srila Prabhupada had access to mystic powers. Sometimes he would do something very mystical. Just like when Prabhupada told Brahmananda to figure out how to get the Bhagavad Gita printed. So Brahmananda said, Prabhupada, I don't know anything about printing. But then you must understand. So he went to the library, got all kinds of books printing, he studied it. But he still couldn't get anyone to print. Then one day they got a letter from someone in Macmillan. And Brahmananda said, Macmillan, if somebody wants one of our records in Macmillan. And so he told Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, okay, you go take the record and ask them to print Bhagavad Gita. And he said, so Prabhupada, should I take the manuscript? But no, you just go. But should I do? No, just go. And so he thought, I think I should take the man. But Prabhupada said, so he went there, he dressed up in a suit, wanted to look very professional. He saw this huge building, He was like, felt like a little dwarf, you know. What am I going to do? What am I going to say? You know. So he took the record and he asked for that person, and somebody said, oh, he's over there. You know, he's just a clerk. You know. He just shuffles papers. And, you know, sorts the mail. What's he on? He's lending out, selling the record. I'll have to go back to Prabhupada and say, he's just a, you know, clerk. But then he went there and gave the record, and Brahmananda was standing there waiting for the donation. And then he said, oh, here's David, I forget it, David Wade, I think it was. David Wade, he's our chief editor. And so he said, oh, nice to meet you. And David said, so, he said, yes, I came here because I was thinking that maybe you could publish Bhagavad Gita. And David said, what? Bhagavad Gita? You have Bhagavad Gita? We are doing a spiritual series, and that's the one book we're missing. Bring it immediately. So Prabhupada was blissful. Oh, he went running back to Prabhupada. Prabhupada, you won't believe what happened. No, and then he explained it Prabhupada. Prabhupada knew what would happen. Prabhupada knew that Krishna had already informed him. So, but he didn't exhibit these things. He gave little Krishna, gave us little hints that Prabhupada has all these powers, but he doesn't use them because Krishna doesn't want us to come to devotional service through mystic power. Krishna wants us to come out of love, out of the desire to serve him, out of surrender. Not by some, oh, I'm overwhelmed by some, you know, Prabhupada's flying through the air or something. Yeah, but then we'll also want to be able to fly through the air or walk on water, you know, or something else. And these things, I mean, Jesus Christ walked on water, and did it convince everyone to take up pure devotional service? They just want, or they just believe he can do it, but we can't do it, so let's just get immersed in sense gratification, and he'll save us. Because we can't be like him. Even though he came and showed us how to be like him, oh, we can't be like him. He's God. That's how they escape. Oh, he's God. We can't be that way. Unfortunate. And there, that whole aspect of Christianity is to show devotees we must work very hard to become true devotees. We must be willing to accept whatever obstacle is there to become true devotees. So then Sri Narada has explained all these from his personal experience, and one can obtain all facilities which Sri Narada obtained by perfecting the chanting process of the sound representation of the Lord. There is no bar for chanting this transcendental sound by anyone, provided it is received through Narada's representative, coming down by the chain of disciplic succession, or the Parana system. So Narada, he got it directly from Krishna. But he didn't actually get it directly from Krishna. If we go back to the beginning and his further, where he gives a description of his life in the next chapter, then he explains actually how he was empowered by the Lord. Because how did he do it? He was also in contact with Parampara. He was serving the Bhakti Vedanta. So Narada Muni has this special position. He is a sadhana siddhi and a nitya siddha at the same time. Meaning, he takes the sadhana siddha position, birth after birth, just like Arjuna takes the position. Arjuna doesn't live eternally in the spiritual world. He's always coming with Krishna in the material world. He's always coming. That's his service. We may think, well, I wouldn't want that. I don't like the material world. But when you're with Krishna, it doesn't matter what world you're in. You can be in the hellish planet if you're with Krishna. He's with Krishna all the time. He remembers Krishna from his very first moment. He only wants Krishna. So it doesn't matter if you're in the material world or the spiritual world. You're actually never in the material world. You're always with Krishna. You're always in the spiritual world. So we have to give up our material conception based on my experience. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada is saying, don't base it on your experience. Get Narada's experience through the parampara. Just as he's giving it to Vyasadeva. What did Narada do? He served the Bhaktivedanta. He took their remnant, which means he ate the food, the leftover foodstuffs from their plate. But the most important remnant he got was he was hearing from them. He was serving them and he was hearing the conversation. So that was the prasadam that he received. And therefore, he became Narada Muni. Although he was always Narada Muni. So how can somebody be two things at once? On the spiritual platform, you can be three personalities at once. Just like Murari Gupta. He's Murari Gupta. You know, he's a partial incarnation of Hanuman and a partial incarnation of Sri Madhva. And he's also an eternal associate of Ramachandra. He's an eternal associate of Lord Chaitanya. Well, how do you do that? We'll find out. You know? Just like one devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, if I'm an eggplant in the spiritual world, what happens when Krishna eats me? And he said, when you get there, you will find out. Otherwise, how that happened, who can understand? Spiritual energy, Chintamani, it is all spiritual, Chit Shakti. And that Chit Shakti is available to us through this Nigama process. This is explained in the Skanda Purana, that Madhura Madhuram Etam Mangalam Mangalanam. This holy name of Krishna is the sweetest thing that exists, and is the most auspicious thing that can possibly happen in our lives. And also, Sakala Nigama Valdi, Tat Palam Chit Swarupam. It is the most perfect fruit that comes, the eternal transcendental fruit that comes from the Vedic tree of transcendental knowledge. And it is always totally spiritual. And Sagridapi Parigitam Shadhaya Helaya Cha. And the holy name is so wonderful that even if you chant it once, and even whether you chant it with faith or with some distraction, it will have the same effect. Of course, if you continue to chant it with a distraction, then you will commit offenses. But if you chant it with distraction, sincerely, just like Ajamil, there's the example, he chanted distracted. He was thinking about his son. But because he chanted without offenses, he chanted purely for one time. But that was so powerful. Now we may not be so fortunate to chant so purely because our lives are so contaminated with so many things. We have so many grudges against different devotees, and we have this, and we have like that. So we don't have that purity. So then, then he says that who, oh great Vigobara Paramatram Tayat Krishna Nama, who, oh descendant of Rigu, who will not want to cross the ocean of material existence by the agency of the holy name? It is the greatest thing. And Srimad Bhagavatam is the other sound vibration that takes us beyond material existence, as stated in the beginning of the Bhagavatam. No. Same thing. Nigama kapataror galitam balam. That this nigama kapataror, this highest Chintamani tree of Vedic transcendental knowledge, which is the most sweetest fruit, is coming to us. Shukamukad, no, Shukamukad Dhavam Samyutam. And it has been softened and prepared for us by the lips of Shukadeva Swami and of Deeparambara. Therefore, Pibata Bhagavatam Rasam Alayam. Drink this nectar of the Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam is meant to be drunk. No, it is not meant to be, read or analyzed. But in the beginning, we have to come to the point where we drink the Bhagavatam. We drink it. We taste it. Rasam Alayam. It gives such an unbelievable flavor. And therefore, Mahuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhagavata. Because the Bhagavatam is relished again and again by persons who understand the real purpose of life. Persons who are learning. So we take this Bhagavatam from those personalities and we become immersed in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So therefore, going back to the original point, there are three things here: Jnanam, Aishvaryam, and Swastyam. And all of them are agencies of Swanigama. So again, I will give Srila Prabhupada's definition of Swanigamam. Confidential knowledge of the Vedas in respect of the Supreme Personality of Godhead manifests in three different ways. This confidential knowledge. First, jnana, understanding, or in other words, Bhagavad Gita. You understand the basics of spiritual life. Now, for most of us, Bhagavad Gita is a lifetime endeavor. Just to come to the point of really being able to follow everything the Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. And that's just jnana. That's the jnana. The confidential knowledge is understood. It's not assimilated. In the platform of avideya, which is Aishvaryam, opulence, we get the opulence of spiritual life. What is the opulence of spiritual life? We begin to taste, really taste devotional service. It becomes something so wonderful, so pleasing, that just like Yamunacharya, his famous prayer by Yamunacharya, he says, now that I have understood the beautiful Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is always new, ever fresh, the most wonderful personality. When I think about my previous life, where I was attached to the opposite sex, I simply turn my face and my lips curl up with distaste, and I spit at the thought of it. That's when we know that we're advancing spiritually. We think all these things that previously gave me pleasure, they are useless. And even family, meaning the material conception of family, not spiritual conception of family, but the material conception of family, which dogs and cats also have. If your cat has a kitten, I know this because in our little ashram, a pregnant cat snuck into the corner outside and had kittens. And we wanted to take them away because otherwise we'll have 50 cats. So we would go, a cat understands that, a bear understands that. This intrinsic motherly and fatherly tendency to protect my children and to provide for them. Every species, except for amoebas maybe, and germs. They don't really take care of their children so well. But, you know, even maybe lizards and fish, you know, they just kind of go out and, you know, they don't really, and even eagles, even some birds, as soon as the bird flies from the nest, that's it, you know, you don't come back, you're on your own. And so, but you know, every species, at least the four-legged species and the two-legged species, they all have this protective tendency for their young. So, we give that up. Queen Kunti says that. And who are her children? The Pandavas. She said, let me give up this family connection. What does she mean? I don't want to think of them as material products of my body. I want to think of them as pure devotees. I want to see them as your devotees. Because I don't want this family conception to tie me to this material world. So she's teaching it. You give up family. It doesn't mean you throw your family out. But it means you see them in a spiritual way. My son is a devotee. I have to serve as a Vaishnava. My daughter, my son, my mother, my father. I serve them as devotees. Even if they're not devotees, I see them as devotees. I see them that way. And I may not be able to serve them directly, but I will serve them indirectly. Whenever there's a family gathering, I'll bring some Mahaprasad, and I'll stay as short a time as possible so that I don't get contaminated by their unfortunate state of consciousness. So a devotee thinks like that. Still, I love them. They gave me this body by which I have come to devotional service. So I love them for that. But I don't love them for the fact that they want me to eat this and do this and be this and I appreciate, I can understand why they're doing that, why they're thinking this way. Let me become such an example for them that they will change. Let them see that I'm not some weirdo that has taken up some strange process and alienated myself from them. But let me become a perfect example of a lifestyle. So if you want to serve like some people, they're very attached to their parents, and they go there and sit around while they're eating, you know, whatever they're eating is not prasadam or not even offerable. No, you don't go that much. You invite them, please come, and you give them Krishna prasadam. And you show them that I'm a very responsible person. I take care of my family, and I also chant Hare Krishna, and I also worship the Supreme Lord on my altar. And I'm successful. Therefore, a devotee, their preaching is, I will be successful in what I do. And therefore, you should do what your karma allows you to do. Even if I'm a garbage collector. Let me be a responsible garbage collector. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said, better to be an honest street sweeper than a dishonest king. Because if I can, if that's what I can do, I'll sweep streets. I remember one movie I saw when I was like 6 or 7 years old called No Time for Sergeant. And it was a funny movie, a comedy. And so this one new soldier, he was really from the countryside, not very sharp, but really nice and wonderful. But the drill sergeant didn't like him because everybody liked him. And he would do everything that the sergeant said, but in a different way. So then he said, I'm going to give you a very special duty. What's that? You are going to be the latrine supervisor. And then so he said, he was, oh great. So he started cleaning the bathroom and everything. And then the sergeant was going to insult him by bringing the captain and showing how this man is just, the only thing he knows how to do is clean the bathroom. But when the captain came in, he stood up at attention and hit a switch, and all the toilets went up like saluting the captain. And the captain said, I want this man to be on my team. He has quality. So that's the point. A devotee, whatever they're doing, even if you're in the latrine supervisor, or the garbage man, or the street sweeper, it doesn't matter. You do it. I had the fortune of being a soldier, and I was reading Bhagavad Gita. And because I saw that Bhagavad Gita said, Arjuna was a perfect soldier, so I said, let me do this perfectly, as perfectly as I can. And everybody gave me more opportunity. And then by Krishna's arrangement, I didn't have to be a soldier anymore. They put me in the church, and all they had to do was come once a week or twice a week, do a little office work, like a few hours. I did it quickly, and the rest of the time I could chant Hare Krishna, I distribute books, and cook and distribute prasadam to the people. I didn't even know how to do that, but I read about it, so I said, let me cook some, vegetables, and go out, and there were no devotees there. So, somehow or another, Krishna, if we just try to serve Him sincerely, Krishna reciprocates. And even if He reciprocates because we have some not so nice karma from the last lifetime, we have to struggle. I'll struggle. Why not struggle for Krishna? Even in the Christian Bible, there's the story of Job. Job, everything went wrong. And he lost his family, he lost his money, and then he got swallowed by a whale. Everything. You couldn't have a worse life. And he was thanking God. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. So even in the Bible or whatever scripture, we find the same lesson. But what we don't find is the depth of the Bhagavad Gita, which Srila Prabhupada described. So therefore, this confidential knowledge is first revealed to us in our relationship with Krishna, then in our devotional service, and then in our prema bhakti. The same confidential service becomes revealed more and more and more. As it says in the Upanishad, Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labdho. Na medaya, na bahura shukaya. That you will never understand Krishna by conferences and lectures, or by having great intelligence, or by reading many books. You will never understand Krishna. But when you serve Krishna according to His desire, then He will reveal Himself to you. And that's what we have to do. Of course, we do read books, but we read Prabhupada's books. It's talking about other books or some, Vedic agamas that just teach you how to do this and how to do that. But when we read Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, there also, Prabhupada said, Bhagavad Gita is sambandha. It brings us to the point of surrender. And once we surrender, Abhideya, Bhagavatam, it teaches us how to be a devotee in all kinds of different circumstances. And then Prayojana, Chaitanya Charitamrita, we learn how to love and serve the Vaishnavas and see all Vaishnavas as our Guru. That's Prayojana, the highest realization. For I am Dasa Dasa Anudasa. So, same confidential knowledge, but revealed more intimately according to our desire to serve Krishna and please Krishna. So these are some thoughts on this verse. I'll stop here. Any comments, any questions? Any correction? I live to be correct. Anybody hungry? Okay, thank you all very much for your attention. Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Shri Nitai Gaurachandra ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Nitai Gaura Premanandi.